Welcome to the Randy Gravitt Leadership Podcast, where we help you lead the hardest person you will ever lead, yourself. Here's your host, someone who believes leadership begins at home, Randy Gravitt.
Welcome to today's episode. We got a new format today. I'm really excited. We've spent time this week individually, one-on-one. On Wednesday, we had some time with one of our coaches from our company. And every week I'm committed to having a guest with us, and I'm so excited today to have my friend Caleb Stanley with me. Caleb was, we got kind of a little bit of...
We got a story.
We got a story, that's right. So we were actually worked together 3 or 4 years ago, Caleb, when you were helping me with some of the stuff when we were doing early on with some technology and stuff. And so, man, it's been cool to watch your journey the last few years and get to spend some time. And so one of the things that we've talked about even this week is that the hardest person you'll ever lead is yourself. And we think that if we can add value to you and help you do that, we want to do that. So I'm committed every week to trying to have a guest that's going to be a leader, a fellow leader, somebody who leads himself well, and somebody who I think can add value to this conversation. So Caleb, welcome to the show, man.
I'm honored you'd call me up to be on this, man. I can remember we're back here on the same porch filming videos 4 years ago.
Yeah, we're doing motivational
talking about
minutes.
the same stuff.
Same stuff. That's right.
Yeah, man.
So one of the things I'm committed to is having a diverse audience or a diverse, group to come on and talk with us. And I thought nobody better than just a young leader who is really passionate about some stuff, but I think you'll give us a different perspective than some of the people that listen. We have a lot of young people listen, but a lot of older people as well. And we're really, if they're a leader, we're trying to help them get better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So in this self-leadership conversation. So thanks for being here. Give us a little bit of your backstory. You're an influencer, you're a dreamer, you're a builder, you're just an incredible leader. You got some projects going on. We'll talk about those, but give us a little bit of your backstory.
I grew up right down the road from here. Spent pretty much my whole life south side of Atlanta, and I've always loved to travel. But when I was about 13 or 14, it's kind of a distinct season of my life where I felt like the Lord was really calling me into ministry. And I always thought that was going to be me being a pastor, because I love people. I love to create things. And so we started a little ministry and called The Alternative, and we saw a need in our community for people. There were a lot of great churches, but nobody was working together. And we had kind of asked the question, what would it look like if people came together? So started more of a movement than a ministry, really. It was kind of a random gathering we would do, and it grew, and then got an opportunity to be a pastor. I was 19, going on 20. I was like, a salary? Sweet, $400 a week. This is like awesome. And jumped on that. And that was an amazing season. I thought, if you would ask me going into that, I thought I'd be there for 10 years. Yeah. And about 8 months into it, I kept asking myself, I remember waking up in the middle of the night and journaling. And I don't really journal. I should, because I'm so ADD in my head, but I don't. But I remember writing down in a little compact notebook just some prayers and like, why do I feel everything that I kind of felt like was put inside me to do? I felt like I had kind of achieved, the platform to do that. And I just felt empty. And I'd come home from the office and I'd just watch Netflix, or I'd just hang out, and that's not me. I want to go, but I was empty. And in that, I realized that by sitting in the office and the gifts I was given, even though I was called to lead people and influence people, I wasn't able to use those gifts like I could in that situation, in that season. So ended up transitioning out after 1.5 years of being there. Started working more with you on training leaders and different creative ways to do that. We started doing The Alternative again, and it just blew up. It was just like ridiculous. It blew up. We weren't even ready. We
literally had over 1,000 young people.
I was over here, and we were talking about renting the Noonan Train Depot for 150 people. And I thought, let's try to do this again while we work together on some projects. And it grew. We had 1,700 at 6 months in. And
crazy.
Then we couldn't handle that. We didn't know. I didn't know what I was doing. And so we did that for about 2 years, and the Lord has just kind of used all of these seasons to kind of teach me more about who I am, how I can use my gifts. Now, we've seen God do so much and seen people be impacted and through big events. Now I've moved to this small little city called Hogansville. It's about 40 minutes south of Atlanta.
Yeah,
and
so that's your next thing.
We're trying to build a whole
rebuild
city.
a city.
Yeah,
right?
we both built events.
Yeah,
and that's easy.
Yeah,
but in ways. But can you build like a whole community?
Yeah,
that's kind of the question now. And so I'm just a builder. I don't know.
Yeah. So go all the way back. You know, I remember I met you when you were, you know, I knew your dad way back when we were probably your age when I met him. But I remember way back you were building stuff as a little kid.
Yeah.
Tell me a story about your. Tell me
my
about your treehouse,
youngest memories were like getting eat up by ants in the sandbox. Like that was as far back as I go. But I remember I have always loved to just be outside. I hated being in school because I wanted to get home. As soon as I got home, I'd go outside. I mean, I was like a nerd for the outdoors. And I started in the sandbox, and Mom and Dad got me like those building blocks. They're like 2x4s that are cut up and sanded. You know what I'm talking about? And I would build like little subdivisions with them and do stuff. And I remember thinking, like, I told my dad, I was like, this is a subdivision. And he's like, that's 3 little 2x4s. You know, it's a sandbox to the blocks, or sandbox to the blocks. And then I started building tree houses. And I remember for my 7th birthday, all I wanted to do was I wanted to be famous. So I told my mom, I was like, Mom, for my birthday, I just want to be in the newspaper. And she was like, okay. So she called, some reporter named Natalie came and did an article on living among the trees.
Made a picture of you.
Did a picture of me. And then I thought, this is it, man. Like, and now, you know, I'm embarrassed by the same article.
Now that you're famous and now that you're building stuff, that's good. And you're still among the trees. We're actually, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see we're hanging out. We're hanging outside here on the porch, just a back porch conversation. We got the birds singing in the background. And
so you go from the sandbox to the tree houses, and that's kind of when like my heart found that calling that God had put in me, and I started to discover, like, man, I love to create, and I don't have to do this just with material things. Yeah. But what does it look like to find a person and create something with what's inside of them, less tangible things
to help build people?
So, and that's where we jumped into the pastoral journey. And now I kind of feel like I've learned to appreciate both of those aspects, and we're trying to combine those. So I'm just a builder, man. I love to create. That's my gift. And it changes season to season. So.
Yeah, that's great. So one of the things we talk to leaders about a lot is that I think the leaders always got a vision, a picture of a better future. Yeah. And it is honestly almost like an old piece of furniture or something. You see something and you go, oh, that has possibility in it. And you're great with that. You see and design and all that kind of stuff. And you get your hands on it, and then all of a sudden it becomes something that it never probably should have even had a chance to become. But speak to a little bit about that. Why do you think it's important for leaders to have a vision, to have a picture of a preferred future?
I think when you go to the gym and you leave the gym and there's something about it, it just feels good. And you know, it feels good because of what it took to get there. Mm-hmm. And then that becomes an addiction to feel that, you know, I completed something, I achieved something. It's the same thing when you're chasing a vision, because you're fulfilling a need. You're something intangible, you're chasing it, and you achieve it, and you can step back and be like, man, we did that. Yeah. And if you don't, the simple fact is, if you don't have a vision, the people perish, right? Like right. We know that, like, that's the simple thing. Right. But there's something beautiful about having a vision or driving by a house and going, this is what that could be like. Yeah. And everybody else is like, that was a waste of your money or a waste of your time. Yeah. But then 6 months later, and then they see it. And then there's a trust they have for you and a respect. And then you can lead them into places in their lives where they can achieve that same thing. So I think it awakens something inside of you too. When you go as far as you can go on your own ability. Yeah. And the only way to get across that sea, that ocean is for God or for other people to meet you there and to carry you even further. There's a special feeling.
Build a team, build an organization,
when
whatever.
you live on the edge of your ability and, you know, the potential of what could happen.
Right.
That's where growth happens.
Don't great leaders push. I mean, they really do think that way. They think, can we go further than what I can do on my own? And then they rally people and they're able to go there. Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
I mean, you're great at that. I remember coming into your office probably 10 years ago, and you were showing me this video of, you know, a dreamer, and it was just him writing all these ideas, and you were just like, man, you need to go do what you're called to do.
Yeah.
And no one had really, you know, I mean, my parents and close friends, they say that, but when someone else says that and speaks that over you, it awakens something inside of you.
Yeah.
And God, we all have something buried in our hearts and in our DNA that has to be awakened.
Yeah.
And it's just not naturally going to come alive. I mean, we're not just going to wake up and do hard things, but like you got to strategically wake that up inside of you. So
yeah, I was talking about the furniture a minute ago. So my wife she loves to restore old furniture and stuff. And I remember there've been times where she would buy something, bring it home, and I'd look at that and think, what are you doing? I mean, that's such a waste.
Can you return this?
All of a sudden, you know, it looks like it came out of Pottery Barn when she gets through with it. And I think it's that she can see things I can't see. And as leaders, I think we have to be able to see things that our people can't really see yet and push them and stretch them. And I always say, if the vision is fuzzy to you, it'll be blurry to your people. So it's got to be, there's important to be crystal clear on what is that next mountain you're trying to climb, right?
When Peter was stepping out in Matthew, you know, he's stepping out of the boat.
In the Bible, you're a Bible reader.
In the Bible, I'm a Bible reader. And even if you're not, this is a great take on this story. One of the original translations says that Peter, you know, we hear the story, he's stepping out in faith to go to Jesus on the water, and we hear he stepped out, he saw the waves, he saw the storm, but he stepped out. But the original translation says that he saw the wind.
Yeah.
And I've always thought of that, and it excites me because it's like he saw something that wasn't really tangible.
That really wasn't even there.
That wasn't.
It was there, but you couldn't see it.
It's almost like he sensed it.
Yeah.
Because you can't see something that's invisible. But leaders have this ability to feel and to sense what could be or what's coming, whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing. And being able to trust that inner feeling and to embrace it and to kind of adjust to that is it's a muscle, and the more you grow it, it's cool.
Yeah, that's great. So I think it's great to have a dream, and it's great to have a vision, but it's also you said a minute ago you're a builder, and so I want us to think a little bit. You know, you can have a dream all you want to, but you got to actually put your hand to the plow, and you got to work. Yeah. And I've watched you're a worker. It's like you don't just have a dream; you actually go make it happen. Tear stuff up, build it back up. Talk about the importance of just hard work. Yeah, when it comes to leadership.
I mean, you gotta be consistent. You gotta work. We live in a generation where I'm 26, so I kind of grew up on that edge of social media. But I think it's the same conversation here. This answer is I grew up, and everyone after me has kind of grown up to where if I want to post a picture or post a task of what I've done or who I am, as soon as it's posted, whatever it is, however I curate it or however real or fake it is, as soon as I post it, it's time for acknowledgement. So there's no season of cultivating what I'm building or creating. It's just idea or concept to acknowledgement. You know, like the acknowledgements are usually on the back of the book cover, right? But like, it's straight to that satisfaction. And we grow up to where we post it, you know, like, love this. That's awesome. Do you see what so-and-so is doing? And we become addicted to this
affirmation.
Yeah, affirmation, this need for affirmation. And we see it in growing depression rates and suicide, and people, their mind is trained to need that affirmation right away.
Yeah. So if there's an older leader who's watching this, and we're trying to understand how you're thinking in your generation, Like you've grown up on everything you do is like.
We grow
and so
up.
when you come to work,
we grow up. Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. Love it. Or that's not awesome. Block you. I don't need that. That's awesome. And then we come to work, and it's the fault in our generation is we do something awesome, and then it's like, well, he didn't like that. He didn't affirm that. Well, screw this. I'm going somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then someone else is like, what do you want me to pat you on the back for everything? And there's
for
a
doing
balance.
what you're supposed to do.
Our generation, unfortunately, needs to be over affirmed, at least at first, to build a trust and to build a space where you can have hard conversations and kind of lead people from that space. But assuming that that's where we're starting is usually a safe assumption.
So go back into this idea about work. So one of the things I've watched you do is it seems like you actually have fallen in love with the work, toward the dream. I mean, it's you've done good at building teams and having people to help you and stuff, but I see you all the time rolling up your sleeves and demolishing things and swinging a hammer. If that's what you're doing, whatever it is.
You gotta love what you do. I mean, that's you do what you love. Like if you don't, I mean, there's elements to the things that I'm doing that I don't want to do every day.
Right.
But you got to just learn to have fun with it. I think that's a huge key. I mean,
and still grind.
This morning we were down at the office working on some stuff, and we just got these little Segway scooters on Amazon, and we just started riding them around our little small town. And I was like, let's just go have some. This is kind of overwhelming. Some of the stuff. Like, let's just go hang out. Let's ride around, get some fresh air. And just creating that space. But you've got to love what you do, or find a way to love it, or set goals to where when you go do something, you get to that goal, you celebrate it, you have, some affirmation set up around that goal, and you recognize it, and then you set up another goal. And, that's a huge part of it. But
talk about balancing the work and the fun. You grind, but you talked about riding the scooters this morning. So like, there's almost a rhythm to you can't just work all the time. And I know a lot of leaders, they're just going to work it to death. And I think we should work hard, but I think we should also play hard. And so there's this balance. And then we have these other leaders.
You talk about it all the time.
They want to play all the time. They don't ever want to do the work. So how do you
got to have hobbies. I mean,
there you go.
You got to celebrate. One way is travel. Honestly.
Yeah.
Travel's a big one. I love to travel because when I'm thrown into another environment, there's a new appreciation or a new perspective on my old environment that I can discover when I come back, or, that I can bring back to it. But,
well, and you've tried, let's go down that road a second. You've traveled a lot, for your age. You like to go, you've been all over the world.
I love to travel, man. Yeah.
So give us, I do think I love to travel as well. And I do think that when you go somewhere, it does sort of broaden your perspective. It does give you new things to think about. It stretches you, helps you grow. Give us, you've been to some fun places. I know this year's been a little different, and you probably hadn't traveled as much.
Yeah.
I was on a plane last couple of weeks ago for the first time in a few months, but
you sent me a photo. You're like, we're back at it.
Yeah, I know. It was great. With some companies are starting to have us back out, but yeah, give us a couple of your
Dubai was probably the furthest. That's a crazy place.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
What'd you learn there?
Be careful what you eat. That's a long way away too.
Yeah.
That's a long way. Sydney, Australia.
Yeah.
Sydney's really beautiful. I mean, Sydney's beautiful. And then pretty much, all over the
We were supposed to go to
US.
New Zealand in March, and and Sydney, and our trip was canceled. So I still have that one on my bucket list. So
yeah, London is next.
Yeah, London.
Me and my
we
wife,
were there last
Macy,
year.
We want to do London. Been to
It was a lot of
Northwestern Territories, negative 60 degrees.
fun. Yeah, you guys were up there, and
That was wild. In Paris, got lost on the train, the subway in Paris, and my phone died.
oh wow,
I was gone for 16 hours trying to get
That's
back
crazy.
to the hotel.
So when you go to some of these places, what have you learned? As when you think about where we're from here, we have a different viewpoint than some of these other places.
Mm-hmm.
What is it about those places that
I think
has been helpful to
you
you?
learn when you're in one place, you get stagnant and you get comfortable, and whether it's your mindset, whether it's how buildings are, architecture, whether it's food, whether it's the way people operate. And I just love seeing how cultures interact, because you realize that when you stay in the same routine, you can get addicted to that, to comfort,
Mm-hmm.
and that's a dangerous place to be. I've tried to be a dreamer. Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I feel like I'm really killing it, but you've got to make sure you're doing things like traveling or whatever those things are to kind of throw you off and to keep awakening the stuff that God's put in you. I just love seeing art, different, like architecture, different coffee shops when we travel. I'm always looking. We went to Chicago one time.
We drink lots of coffee.
We're on the runway, and I remember, we're about like taking off, and you're on the phone. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And you're like, yeah, I'd like to order a deep dish. Or 45 minutes away from Chicago or whatever. And you're like, we'll be there to pick it up here in a little bit. We're on the way. And we were leaving Atlanta. But it took an hour to, that was the best pizza
that was great.
I've ever
I think
had.
we were at Giordano's that was good.
What was that place called?
I think Giordano's is
right.
Or Giordano's or whatever.
I've got to go back and
it's
try
right there
that.
by Midway. Yeah. I know the places, man.
It's just fun. I mean, it's kind of simple, but it's just fun.
Yeah.
And it's cool.
Talk about one of the things I've also watched in you that's been really good is you've always had, you're talking about revitalizing this community in this little small town, but you've always had community around you. You've always had people around you to do life with.
Yeah.
Talk about the importance of that there are leaders out here listening who we're trying to help them lead themselves better. And there's a lot of leaders that are, they would say they're lonely. They'd say it's lonely at the top kind of thing. I think loneliness is a choice. I think isolation is a choice. And I think it's a dangerous choice.
I agree.
Why have you valued friendship so much? And how has that helped you get to where you are?
I think that the choice, it's the lack of choosing community. It's not acting. It's not being proactive. And that's where the loneliness kind of comes in.
Yeah.
But man, I've been so lucky to grow up in what I think is one of the best times in one of the best places. Where we live, it's not like a world famous area. We're south of Atlanta, but like I have so many amazing friends that I could call or that I won't talk to for a while, and then we just hit it. Like there's just so many quality people. You've got to have people around you that believe in you. I mean, it's funner to build something with people.
Yeah.
Me and my buddy Jake talk about this. Is like one of the side projects we're doing is we're flipping some houses, and he's like, we can make a little bit better money if I did this one and you did that one, but if we both do them both together, it's just kind of more fun.
Yeah.
And it's just funner. I mean, we're dealing with a crazy plumber or a crazy this or that. Just have some fun with it. We can joke about it or whatever. Like, it's funner to have people with you, and it's more challenging and it's more frustrating.
Yeah.
But I think that's what we're called to. We're called to work together and carry each other's burdens. And,
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. Carry each other's burdens. We're called to work together. You say, when you look at our culture right now, it feels to me like, politically, there are all these areas where it just feels like everything is so divided, maybe even more than it ever has been. Speak to that for a second. I mean, like how do you address that? And as you think about some of that,
I think the humanity is kind of lost. We've kind of lost the understanding of each other, that you're a soul and that I'm a soul.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, you want to feel comfortable. You want to feel safe and protected. Mm-hmm. And you just want to be loved.
Yeah.
You want to know that you matter and that you're recognized and just
listened
understand.
To, heard,
you're
all that
heard.
Stuff.
You're, we've just lost. It's this side or this side. And it's so hard. I mean, I have friends on both sides, and try to have a conversation sometimes. But we've just lost that, man, we are all created in God's image. We're his kids. And he holds our dreams. He holds our hearts. We all need a lot of help. We're all messed up. We all, seek the same things at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And we're all afraid of things. We all have dreams that those around us may not even know about, that we kind of hide, bury them in our heart out of insecurity. We've lost that. And it's just become you're wrong, I'm right, or I'm wrong and you're right.
Yeah.
And we're we're both wrong.
Yeah.
And we both got some things we're right about. So it's tough, man. I think people are recognizing though with how busy, I mean, Corona's been tough and there's been a lot of loss through it all. But I think if there's anything, people have realized how to slow down a little bit. And we've talked about this. We are moving just too fast as a culture. I mean, I like to be go, 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 but there's something beautiful about just going at just slowing down, you know, and rediscovering some things. And I hope that as a culture, we kind of turn back that way a little bit and slow some things down, because we just fly through life.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. It's interesting, man. World's a broken place.
Yeah.
We need each other.
You mentioned fear a minute ago. When you think about what you're afraid of down the road, let's say you push, you know, you said you're 26,
Yeah.
25 more years, you get 50. Like, what are you worried about as it relates to our culture over the next 25 years? I mean, anything as you begin to look down the road and think about the future, you know, as a young person, like what do you feel like the challenges will be?
I think a lot of people are going to miss their purpose. And what do you mean by that? I think a lot of people are going to get sucked into what someone else wanted them to do.
They're going to live somebody else's story.
Felt they had to go do this and pay this amount and, you know, accumulate a debt of time or finances to achieve this or that. And they're going to get there and they're going to be like, why am I not happy?
Yeah.
And then you know.
Now you're giving your life away.
Yeah, you've given your life to somebody else's vision.
Yeah.
And, I mean, we're all guilty of that in little ways every day, but I just go back to creating space where you can awaken what's in your heart. You don't want to miss that. We've got one life on this planet that we've been gifted with. And that life comes with, you know, some visions and some dreams and some problems, you know, some you can change, some you can't change.
Right.
Some affected, you know, caused by others, some that you've caused. But either way, it's what you've been given.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to I have like so many ideas, and it's hard going from being able to do a big event, and that's kind of what you're known for, being able to do a book, and that's kind of what you're known for, to trying to build a community. It's a lot less tangible. It's a lot less easy to say, but you kind of get to a place where you just want to, what you do, you want it to make a difference and to matter. And I don't want to get to 50 or 60 or 70 and just have never really tried some of these hard things or never really made a difference. You know, maybe it'd be easy. I'm a starter and a builder to just start a bunch of things, but I want them to matter, you know, and I want them to make an impact. So
talk about failure. I mean, it's like you start some things you've started and you're finishing some things even, but as you try something new, sometimes it's hard. How do you push through when you know there's a chance you're going to fail?
Failure is a good teacher. I mean, humility is a good teacher. I think that's humility will teach you longevity if you let it. And the way I've always found humility is through failure.
Okay.
So I think it's a tool that you can use to sharpen your future. I mean, the first time we quit doing the alternative, it just feel like it failed. Even the second time, it just, you know, you blow this big event up and you have all these people coming, and we actually had a book. We've got a book with Zondervan that came out on the day of our last alternative event. And in a way it feels like a failure, but at the same time, you know what you're doing is right in that season. And that's just the way it played out. But it will teach you a lot if you let it, but you've got to embrace it. I mean, you can't, we just want to kind of hide from it or push it away. My wife's always like, you never want to talk about your emotions. That's, you know, we try to push the failure away, but if you can just kind of let
almost
it
lean
absorb
into
you for a second, it's not your identity. You know, you're not a failure, but you failed.
Just because you failed doesn't make you a failure.
Exactly. And
makes you maybe a learner or a grower or whatever.
I mean, like the Wright brothers, Thomas said, all these guys, how many times did they fail? I don't even know. I don't have all, but creators, you're going to fail way more than you succeed. But when you succeed, no one, it's not like a football season where you're like, 10-4.
Right.
It's not, you're just 4 in the, you created 4 things or whatever. Right, so it doesn't, no one's keeping track. You're keeping track.
Right.
And if someone's keeping track, they care an awfully lot about watching you fail.
Right.
Like if they're trying to keep track, like no one,
and you can't worry about that.
You can't, man. You gotta, failure's tough, but it's a good thing.
So, if you think about the generation you're growing up in right now, what would you say to your own generation? Like, what would you, we talked a little bit about that, but if you had some advice for people that are under 30, what would you say to them?
Do something different. Be ridiculous. I mean, what is something that's going to surprise everybody around you? Don't be crazy, but like,
no, take chances for your dream.
What is it to make a difference? You got to be different. I mean, that's what the word you got to, and communities need that. People need that. Technology needs that. Medicine needs that. And don't be afraid to be different. It frustrates me when we live in the box and it just leads. I mean, we see what it leads to every day, but I think the other thing is just learn to appreciate the power of the process and the discipline that comes with that, the failure that comes with that, because the end is so much more beautiful when you embrace that process. We talked about it, social media, we love this, like this, instant affirmation. But when that affirmation is delayed and you remain faithful to a cause or a mission, it makes the end all that more, beautiful and affirming. And so just embracing that process and,
So let's flip that. So if you're talking to people my age, who are older than 30, a lot older
just
than 30.
By a little bit.
Yeah. So what would you say? What do they need to know about your generation? Like
we need your help. I have been really blessed to have guys like you and other leaders. There's a guy, his name's Bob. He lives in a cabin 9,000 feet up in Colorado.
Yeah.
I've been out there twice for a couple days, and we'd cut firewood and we'd just hang out.
Yeah.
And he would just talk. We need you guys.
Yeah.
And if there's young guys out there that are like, we don't, or, young women or what, we don't need it, well, then fine. They're not try to, don't
do anything.
We are the cry of, I'm 26. We need help. Yeah. We need you. I mean, you say this all the time, to finish strong, to cast vision. What is, what are you pursuing? How can we help? And then we also need, like a father to a son, we need you to believe in us. I mean, that is the most empowering thing. We talk about passing the baton, handing the title down, but the most empowering way to do that is for you to look down and say like, hey, I want you to know I believe in you and you're able to do this.
You got what it takes.
You're going to mess up here and there. I messed up. But I believe in you.
Yeah. And
that goes such a long way to build a bridge of trust. But yeah, man, we need each other.
One of the things I think that there may be people listening who could actually maybe even benefit from this. But one of the things I really try to do is, obviously I'm investing in people in the next generation a lot. But one of the things I like to do is learn from the next generation. I like to learn, you guys are digital natives. Yeah. I mean, actually you're just a little ahead of that, but you pretty much had a phone in your hand your whole life. Yeah. You grow up with screens all around you, especially kids now.
Yeah.
As you think about it, but there's things that you can learn from them. And can you speak to this for a second? It's to me, it's like sometimes we're afraid to ask, but if we ask, you don't, I mean, if you're around the right young people, I guess maybe there are some young people that would make you feel stupid or whatever, but honestly, aren't you, when you're asked to help somebody who's older, or don't you want to share? I mean, there's this community aspect that goes back and forth from generation to generation.
I think you're talking about vulnerability.
Yeah.
Is really what it is.
Right.
And if vulnerability, it's kind of like fear. It's a scary thing, but vulnerability, it's disarming yourself.
Right.
Essentially. It's humbling yourself.
Right.
And when I'm like, hey, I'm a little messed up, and I throw that chip on the table, and then you're like, well, I guess I'm that messed up too. You throw it on the table, then next thing you know, we both know each other's stories, and there's nothing we're not trying to one up each other.
It doesn't matter how old we are at that point. It's just like we're together trying to grow.
We're here, and vulnerability is powerful.
Yeah. Don't you think that there would be people who are listening who have a team, or they maybe lead a ministry, or they have an organization or a sports front, whatever it is, and if they would just be willing to be vulnerable, ask questions, listen to the, I say all the time, the people closest to the problems a lot of times are closest to the solutions. If I just go to my frontline employees or young people, whatever, we work with these organizations, have all these young people. If I would just go to them and ask, doesn't that cause your loyalty to go up, your trust to go up, your vulnerability, whatever it is, but your energy, your engagement, all those things go up, right? Don't you feel valued at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I think another thing too is just this idea of ownership, extending ownership from whether it's up or
sharing
it's down.
Ownership.
I mean, when you hand over ownership, whether it's percentages or a goal, whatever that looks like in your organization, it matters to me now because it's part of who I am and what I'm identifying with. And so I have found a lot of times when I've worked with teams and had teams that I've led is being able to, the first step is casting that clear vision. Here's where we want to go. And then immediately following that vision, making them feel like a part of that goal is owned by them. They can celebrate it. Their family should celebrate it. It's a mutual.
It's interesting. One of the things we've done some research on engagement, and one of the things we discovered was when you share responsibility or share ownership, it actually causes their engagement to go up. So when you're given responsibility as a young person, you actually don't want to let your boss down. You actually don't show up thinking, I hope I can make it miserable for her today. You really want to do well and help them. So I think one of the things we can do is we can empower that next generation, develop them and trust them. And allow them room to make mistakes if they're trained properly and they mess it up on purpose. That's one thing, but that's not what's going on.
No, that's it, man.
That's good. So let's kind of shift one more time here. What are you excited about in the future? What you got going on that you got anything you're pumped about?
We've got a couple projects, man, that I'm hoping work, but we'll see. I can't throw it all out there yet because that's the power of creating. You got to kind of save it, but
that's good.
Really passionate about the city we're in right now, Hogansville. I mean, it's 150 years old in 11 days.
Okay,
it's 100 since it was founded, and we're gonna have a birthday, COVID style.
That's good.
But man, we're gonna change this. We're gonna do everything we can to flip this town, and that starts with buildings. It starts with houses.
There are people who think about remodeling a room, then flipping a house. You're flipping a town.
Yeah, man.
And you're flipping people. I mean, you look at the people there. That's what it
is. It's a people thing.
People being transformed.
There's 3,000-4,000 people here. You can't flip all those houses or buildings.
Right.
But you can do it enough to where people will see that that's the vision.
Right.
And then they'll feel like they're an owner of the vision.
Right.
And then they'll do it. And then you can say, I could leave and go to Colorado, get a cabin in Colorado,
you go
fish
see
on
Bob.
the Bighorn in Montana. I mean, and they're running with it, and that excites me. So we'll see if we'll fail in a lot of ways. Hopefully we can win in some.
That's good. I want to kind of take one more little side road. So you just had a wedding anniversary back in July. You've been married a year now, right?
A year and 3 months.
Yeah. So
it's been awesome.
And you and Macy are doing great.
Anybody that's said, I mean, marriage is hard, but anybody that's like says the way, I mean, I love it.
That's good.
From a young person to another young person, like I love it. Yeah. I mean, it's great.
That's good.
So
what have you learned there in the context of that relationship? Like, give me a couple things that
share your feelings.
Okay, you said that a minute ago. Yeah, be open, right?
Share your feelings. I am happy. I am sad. So
that's good. Sounds like a children's
That's a big one. Yeah, that's a new Dr. Seuss special. Man. I think doing that, and it's taught so much. But the biggest is just, she loves it when I share how I feel.
Yeah.
I mean, you think you think people always want you to be like, I'm good.
Pretend I got it all together, all this kind of stuff.
I realized kind of early on I wasn't.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm good, but I wasn't sharing that I was either good or struggling with this, or, this is obviously a hard thing. How are you doing? And it was making us kind of more distant.
Yeah.
Because she just wanted me to be like, I'm not real good with that.
Yeah.
She wanted that, and then kind of brought us.
Everything's not
together.
always fine.
So just share vulnerability.
Yeah, I think that's great. And you guys truly are partners. I mean, she's trying to help with the town, and she's got dreams
for the city. She's an actress in the film industry,
Hollywood girl, and
we're back and forth. That's why I wear this hat.
Yeah, you got LA. I mean,
fix
with
my crazy COVID hair,
with
and
the playoffs going on.
People think
I can't believe you didn't wear a Braves cap. So anyway,
I need one. I don't have one.
Yeah,
I don't even watch sports really. Don't tell them
that's
that.
Good, but you're repping LA there. That's good. So if thanks for being on. If you could leave leaders, again, we're trying to just give them a chance to work on themselves. So they're going to, we say all the time, if leaders get better, everything gets better around them. They're trying to help them, help lead themselves here. If you could leave the leaders that are listening with just a challenge, an admonition, an encouragement, whatever it would be, what would you say to leaders who might be listening to them, who maybe underappreciate how important it is that they lead themselves? Anything you would say to leaders?
I remember my grandpa, Alan, he passed away 3 years ago, 4 years ago now, but I would always go to him with my elaborate plan. This is what we're building, whether it was ministry or, whatever it was. And I would draw it. I would sketch it on a napkin. He'd be sitting at the table and I would just share it, like, and some people you share it with and they light up and they're ready to go. But I would always share it with him and he would light up in a different way. And he would always say, no matter how impressive it was, no matter what it was about, he would just say, Caleb, just make sure you keep the main thing the main thing. I'm like, but isn't that good? Like what I brought to you? And he would just say that I love that. But just make sure the main thing is the main thing. And I think make sure you know where you're going and you know what the main thing is. Because if you lose that, I mean, you're just running circles.
We just talked about this week on Monday and Wednesday about not just what you do, but why you do what you do, and keeping that clear in front of you.
Write it up.
Why? Exactly.
Tattoo it. Write it on a whiteboard. Sharpie on your hand. Whatever you got to do.
Yeah, and just keep that. And if you understand that when you do what you do, it is actually positioning you to have greater influence and greater impact. So thanks for being with us today. If people want to get connected with you, they want to learn more about Hogansville, they want to learn more, or they just need to connect with you, help them with their vision or whatever, how can we get in touch with you?
Instagram, Twitter, all my handles are just and then my first and last name. It was the only thing that was available. It was simple. The Caleb Stanley.
So they can reach out to you.
Yeah, you can email me, Caleb@calebstanley.com. My website's calebstanley.com. And that's my website's kind of like some videos, some building stuff, the book we wrote.
Yeah.
My book, it's called The Alternative. Me and Austin Dennis wrote it, and it's just all about awakening that dream. It's available Barnes & Noble, Amazon, wherever you can grab that. But
you guys are doing great work, so thank you.
Thanks for having me, man. I had a blast.
Yeah, thank y'all for being with us this week, and reach out to Caleb if he can help you.
Thanks for listening to the Randy Gravitt Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed today's show, we ask you to leave a review if you haven't already, and subscribe so you'll be alerted when we post new content. We also encourage you to share a link with your friends. Tune in Friday for another episode with a special guest leader. Now, go lead yourself first. Remember, leadership begins at home.